Hi, and welcome to Comedy Recapped. Today we're going to be talking about the 1989 American comedy film starring Weird Al Yankovic, titled UHF. Yankovic stars as a shiftless dreamer who falls into the management position at an ultra-low-budget TV station and surprisingly finds success with his imaginative new programming and wild cast of characters. Beware, spoilers ahead. Enjoy. The movie opens with a scene almost identical to those in Raiders of the Lost Ark. We follow an explorer, George, who is dressed very much like Indiana Jones as he is venturing to an ancient temple, ignoring all warning signs on his path. He is on a quest to steal a coveted statue, the Academy Award, and is subsequently chased, run over, and flattened by a giant boulder, at which point he is awakened from his daydream. It turns out George Newman is a chronic daydreamer with a wild imagination. George and his roommate, Bob Speck, are working at Big Edna's Burger World, a local fast food eatery in the small town that they live in. George makes a nasty remark about Big Edna right in front of her, and both men are fired and thrown out into the streets. George's chronic job instability puts a strain on his long-suffering relationship with his girlfriend, Terry Campbell, who admittedly tolerates his antics well. George and Terry go to his aunt and uncle's house for a party, where his Uncle Harvey, with a compulsive gambling addiction, wins a hand of poker, awarding him the deed to a nearly bankrupt UHF television station. After his wife Esther prods him about it, Harvey gives George complete control of Channel 62 to manage the station. Bob and George meet the Channel 62 staff the following day, manned by a receptionist who doubles as a reporter named Pamela Finkelstein. Her team includes a dwarf photojournalist and their cameraman, Noodles McIntosh, as well as an eccentric engineer named Philo. George tries to present himself to the owner of the rival VHF network Channel 8 station, but the harsh and cynical R.J. Fletcher chases him out violently. George runs with janitor Stanley Spadowski, who by all accounts is mentally challenged. Stanley was unfairly fired by Fletcher for allegedly throwing away a helpful research report that had been sitting on Fletcher's desk chair the entire time. George gives him a position as the head janitor at Channel 62. Seeing that Channel 62 mostly runs old classic TV reruns like Mr. Ed and the Beverly Hillbillies, George notes that the station needs more talent. George creates new series, like the child-friendly yet poorly named Uncle Nutsy's Clubhouse. But the lousy station debt and workload begins to get to him. Amidst the stress he's dealing with, George forgets Terry's birthday, causing her to break up with him. Despondent, George hands over control of Uncle Nutsy's Clubhouse to Stanley so that he and Bob can go drink away their sorrows. While seated at the bar, they discover that everyone actually enjoys Stanley's antics on Channel 62. George and Bob feel revitalized and inspired after realizing they have success on their hands. They brainstorm ideas for future original shows for Channel 62's programming, all led by the newly renamed Stanley Spadowski's Clubhouse. Later, we see another dream sequence, which this time includes a music video for Weird Al's parody Money for Nothing, both in the audio and visual style of Dire Straits. As George makes progress with the station, we also get to see some of the commercials he has lined up for his channel, such as Plots R Us Mortuary Service, Crazy Eddie's Used Car Emporium, and Spatula City, as well as Channel 62's new TV series showcasing Cooney, a resident and a local karate instructor who takes over as host of the bizarre game show called Wheel of Fish. George also launches a revamped talk show called Town Talk, a Geraldo Rivera-style show looking for exciting and provocative topics, such as unlocking Al Capone's glove compartment. Raul Hernandez is hired for Raul's Wild Kingdom, an animal program in which he chats to and abuses the animals he keeps in his residence. As Channel 62's popularity develops, Fletcher becomes enraged that a UHF channel surpasses his network's programming in viewership and ratings. He learns that the station's owner, Harvey Bilchik, has just gambled and lost $75,000 at the horse races and only has 2 days to pay off the debt. Fletcher offers Harvey the opportunity to repay his obligation to his unseen bookie, Big Louie, in exchange for ownership of Channel 62, which he would then gladly shut down. He legally cannot own 2 television stations in the town. When George learns about the deal, he phones his aunt, who convinces her husband to postpone the transaction to give George time to sell investment shares in Channel 62 through a 48-hour telethon. Thanks to Stanley's tremendous energy, the telethon begins successfully, but Fletcher sends his thugs to capture Stanley. The telethon comes to a halt without their fearless leader. So George then leads a group of people penetrating Channel 8 to rescue Stanley. Meanwhile, Philo installs a concealed camera in Fletcher's workplace to catch him red-handed. When he notices Stanley attempting to flee, he alerts George, who seeks to rescue Stanley while imagining himself as John Rambo in an extended fantasy satire of Rambo: First Blood Part 2, with George dressed as a muscle-bound Rambo trying to rescue Stanley from Fletcher's private army. Cooney and his karate pupils also come in to finish the job and beat up a majority of Fletcher's thugs. George and his team return just in time to complete the telethon before Harvey's debt comes due, saving the station and turning it into a publicly traded company. On the other hand, Fletcher discovers that the penny he patronizingly gave to a beggar was an ultra-rare 1955 double-die cent worth of fortune, which the beggar sold and used to purchase $2,000 in Channel 62 shares, and a Rolex watch to boot. Fletcher also discovers that Philo covertly recorded and aired a slanderous conversation regarding his disdain for his station's audience. The FCC revokes his license and deactivates the station. Philo is covertly discovered to be an extraterrestrial, and after his work for Channel 62 is complete, he teleports away to his home planet unnoticed. As the film ends, George and Terry revive their romance in a parody of Gone with the Wind. And that's going to wrap things up for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this recap as much as we did. If you liked the video and want to look into other movies with us, then be sure to like and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on. That way, you won't miss a single video.